standing in downtown Newport in front of the Newport Mount Olivet United Methodist Church, founded in 1850. It's one of the buildings that's the heart and soul of Newport, and we're trying to preserve it from the depredations of the Mountain Valley Pipeline. The pipeline crossing is located just on the other side of the vocational agricultural building, now the Rescue Squad. We think it's inappropriate to try and run a pipeline between downtown Newport and the center of Newport culture, which is the historic Newport High School campus and fairgrounds, a site of the oldest agricultural fair in Virginia, which is in excess of 80 years. It's going to cause a diminishment of the use of this historic building, which is also the Newport Recreation Center. We believe that through active litigation and citizen intervention that we can convince the Federal Energy Regulatory Commission to comply with their obligations under the National Historic Preservation Act and avoid the Newport properties.
We need to show these companies we're not going to back down and that we're going to stand united against them.
This fight is really about this particular company, this limited liability corporation that's wanting to build this line. And their record is pretty bad. So we need to go after specifically EQT and NextEra that's put this Mountain Valley company together and attack that as much as we can. And we do that by registering with FERC so that we can make comments there.
I'm here from Loco Arts, and we're providing a resource to the community to be able to have our voices heard through writing e-comments to the Federal Energy Regulatory Commission, which we will then submit while we're here today.
You'll get email updates anytime anybody posts a comment so that you can follow that discussion as it goes along.
The general population of this country in general, and you guys may or may not agree with this, but is fairly supportive of pipelines. But what they're not supportive of is coming through an environmentally sensitive area that can be devastated.
Yeah, people support the pipelines because they think of other issues, international issues, trade issues, whatnot. But they don't really realize that we're killing our country. Everything that we have is going to be destroyed if this kind of thing continues.
When they come in, they're going to first grade about 150 feet wide. Before they do that, though, if you have trees on the property, they're going to cut all the trees. They're going to push up all the stumps so they can grade it and have a clear open area. Then they're going to come in with trenching machines. And since we have karst topology and a lot of limestone, a lot of rock, they'll have to come in and first drill holes where the pipeline will go, put in charges, and break up the rock. They will have to use that. Once they have that done, then they'll have backhoes come in and dig the trench, and up to 11 feet deep. Once the trench is dug, they're going to put stripping. It's called stripping, where they bring all the 42-inch pipe in 40-foot sections will be brought in. It'll be stationed along the pipeline. They have to lift that pipe up, and to do that they have to have something called pipe layers. They're 60-ton each one, a piece of equipment, and it may take 5 to 7 of them, depending on what length of section they're trying to do at a time, to lift the pipes. Once they're off the ground, they'll be welded. Once they have a long enough piece welded together, then the pipe layers will lay it in the ground. When all the pipe is connected, which may take up to a year for it to be done, all of it, that's when they pressure test it by running water through it. They check for the wells, and at that point, they repair all the welded areas. Then they backfill with grading equipment, backhoes, and anything else that might be there. The equipment will be large, 60-ton, down to dump trucks, tractors, will all be back there. It's not going to be very pleasant.
Gas isn't going to pump itself over these mountains. You know, it's like this. You got one mountain here and like that. They're going to need something to force that gas through there, and that's what compressor stations do.
How much property is needed to locate one of these compressor stations?
Typically, the footprint of a compressor station is about 5 acres.
The compressor stations use 7% of all the gas coming down the line. When EQT was asked about how they were going to, what the generators were going to do, they're going to be natural gas burning. It's going to take 3 or 4 1,300 horsepower compressors, each one burning natural gas. And reportedly, by the industry, 7% of all gas flowing down the pipe is used for the compressors to pump the gas. When it's compressed, the fumes come out from it, and they also have loss of methane gas. Periodically, they have to blow the pipes open, and that methane gas is escaping into the air. It's more harmful to the greenhouse effect than anything else could possibly be. We need to protect our land, our water, and our environment. Methane leaks will hurt all of us in numerous ways.
We have a special place here. We have to protect it. If our board of supervisors doesn't agree with that, then we need to get rid of it.
And that resolution from Montgomery County is brilliant. It is. Whereas this, whereas this, whereas this, and you read through and you say, this can't happen.
In terms of answering the question as to who's going to have access to this gas, this company that's bringing this pipeline through doesn't own the gas.
Right.
They are just basically building this transmission line, and that's where they make their profit, is by putting this line through our community.
What makes me angry is the irresponsibility of large corporations in this country and how they are walking over us, the citizens, how they are corrupting the government by funding the elections, essentially buying our politicians so that the legislation that is passed then favors the corporations.
We are the outsiders in this entire process, and we have to do something in addition to writing letters to our congressmen to interrupt or disrupt this process and get our views across.
The corporations are destroying the environment inch by inch by inch. It's very slow, but it's pretty obvious that it's happening. They have to be stopped.
Simply knowing about stuff doesn't change anything. Direct action does. So go talk to your neighbor. Go talk to your family people. Go talk to strangers on the street. Hand out flyers. That's direct action.
We need to take action, direct action. We need to go to places like Richmond or Washington, not only ourselves, but joining with other communities. And when that means this can't be a NIMBY not in my backyard, we need to join with people from other backyards.
It takes a certain amount of courage. And once you start doing that, that's nonviolent direct action. That's the most simple form of it. But that's the first step. After that, it's learning how to hold a press conference. Nonviolent direct action. You can hold a press conference. You need to know how to do it. You need to know what's news and what's not news.
We have numbers. This is the United States of America. We are the citizens, and we need to stand up and draw the line in the sand.
The concept that a private company from private property can take your land is outrageous. We should not stand for this.
I love my children. And my daughter is up there in the picture. And I really want her to have a future here. It's a devastating thing to hear about.
You're looking at my driveway. There's my house. Behind you is the pipeline crossing place. I am well within the half mile. I would be the crispy critter. If the sun were shining, you'd see red flashes coming out of my eyes right now, because I don't want to live like this. I don't want to have to worry about this. I've seen what just working on this has done to the people who have been involved. I've watched the health of one of my neighbors go down the tubes because he's putting 18 hours a day in refuting the lies that are coming out in the MVP documents. I've watched another neighbor have a car wreck because she was distracted trying to get to yet one more meeting. I've watched myself and my housemate struggle with emotional issues because of the stress of dealing with a situation that has no evident cure.
Well, good morning. Welcome to the 2017 Virginia's Most Endangered Historic Places announcement.
Preservation Virginia designated the Greater Newport Rural Historic District and the Newport Historic Districts as Virginia's most endangered historic districts for 2017.
Giles County's historic Newport District and Greater Newport Rural Historic District are shining examples of the role that such designations play as part of the federal review process. So to date, the negative impacts of these pipelines, they've not been adequately considered in the review process overseen by FERC. Avoidance of pre-existing historic districts is being ignored, and it's not possible to minimize the impacts on historic resources and landscape of Giles County.
Minimization or avoidance of the negative impacts on the historic resources and traditionally agricultural landscape of Giles County is not feasible. The covered bridges and historic structures that lend the district integrity and the continued agricultural pattern of land use in this area would be permanently and irrevocably impacted by the pipeline.
Obviously, if we just ignore this, there's going to be a huge ditch dug through this community.
Local groups in Giles County opposed to the projects, such as Preserve Giles County and Preserve Newport Historic Properties, find themselves involved in a flawed public engagement process, contrary to Section 106. Consulting party status for appropriate organizations to take part in an exchange of information has been denied. Public meetings held by FERC have not been truly public and have instead relied on one-on-one recorded exchanges. Environmental impact statement, cultural resource survey reports have been difficult to obtain and incomplete or non-existent. So what's the solution? FERC should ensure that an open Section 106 process is conducted, ensuring that all research and investigations undertaken on historic sites impacted by the pipeline are made available to all stakeholders for review. We also encourage the developers of the Mountain Valley and Atlantic Coast pipelines to make every effort to reroute the pipelines so that they do not impact historic districts.
And I think what Preservation Virginia has done for us is another step in that direction.
I want to also thank the press, and they have written about this, made public these meetings and our concern, and we need to make this public. I hope that where this leads is to more national press.
This was uplifting today. We filled up the capacity of the church with people from all over the community, from other communities.
To hear what Preservation Virginia had to say, it was pretty exciting. Folks needed a little bit of good news.
A positive that we've actually been acknowledged and recognized at the state level, and we've been recognized also at the national level by the National Trust for Historic Preservation. But it's a two-edged sword because we're being acknowledged for the fact that we're going extinct. If the pipeline is allowed to go through, it'll have irreparable harm to both the historic districts and the living historic community of Newport. So if I had an alternative out there, do you think FERC should study it?
We are taking a non-renewable natural resource of just totally invaluable, and allowing a few private investors to sell it to line their own pockets. And to do that, we're risking our water, we're risking our land because of the erosion potentials, we're risking the health and safety of the people who live along the pipeline path. All of this so a few guys can make a buck. Is this the American dream? Is this what I grew up paying taxes to support? Is this the future of our country? That the average American doesn't count at all? That it only matters if you have pull on Wall Street and pull in Congress and pull at the state level? What's going on? Who's minding the store? That's my question. We've read all this because we didn't want to make uninformed statements to the public. If FERC approves this thing, we intend to show all of our data to a judge and make FERC eat crow. These are the clippings that I've collected from our local papers over the 18 months that are against the pipeline. These are for the pipeline.
You know, the pipeline is not going to cross our land. We had a conservation easement, and we also have a cave. That was our way of stopping the pipeline. There are many other ways. Be creative. Don't give up. Let's stop the pipeline from everybody's backyard.
I don't know about you all, but I'm mad as hell, and it's not going to happen if I have anything to say about it.
Amen.
Yeah.
The point has been made repeatedly that only we, the people, by virtue of our numbers, have the power to effect change and say no more to dirty energy and yes to renewables. Don't let this become this for this.